Good afternoon. I'm Sean Washburn, a museum curator for the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C., and I've come to talk to you today about a utopian society that can be seen in two artifacts I have here for you, and I'm going to try to relate it to our modern-day society in which we live in now. And before we begin, let me ask you a question. How much do you think you know about the past? Well, although you might have not lived in the past, of course, we have records on file that help us tell what occurred within the past, before we were alive. But what if these records were altered? What if these historical ideas were changed and replaced with updated ideals that could be false or not true? Are you allowed to change the past that easily? Well, let me propose this idea to you. When influential people, they use calm language referencing the alteration of history, they create almost a peaceful society, which is dangerous because people are easily controlled by a manipulative government. So let's take a look first at George Orwell's novel 1984. Leader Big Brother, the big leader of Oceania, has changed everything that anyone has known to fit his ideals and agree with what he believes. So in the society, it states that everything record has been destroyed or falsified. Every book rewritten, every picture has been repainted, every statue and street building has been renamed, every date has been altered, and the process is continuing day by day, minute by minute. Now here the word every is repeated 5 times after each comma. And I read this to you because this repetition is beneficial here, because it hammers in that idea that Big Brother has changed anything that ever existed in order to agree with his ideas. The word every helps emphasize that it's all possible, or the utmost. That's what every means. Now, in this case, every strikes the reader with almost a mind-boggling feeling that the past is being altered or changed. Now, with this change, the reader is hit with somewhat of a startling mood that no one in society will remember or even know the past. People in the past, things that have occurred, events, they won't know. Physical objects, like I said, paintings, buildings, streets, they're all being erased from the public view. Now, the fact that no one questioned this or makes an uprising rebel against the government and that these ideas are just being pushed out there in front of their eyes, well, that's almost kind of scary, and these people don't even know what occurred before their own lives. Now, on the other hand, I have for you The Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. Now, in Brave New World, people are aware of the past. Now, in this novel here, births are not done naturally. Women don't give birth anymore. They use eggs and separate them in Bokanovsky's egg, and it will bud into 96 eggs. Now, let me explain that to you in a second. So in this society, the world has essentially been brainwashed by the idea of natural birth. Now, let me read this quote to you from Brave New World. The director, who's currently giving the tour to all the students in their laboratories, he explains that one egg, one embryo, one adult. Normality. But a Bokanovsky egg will bud, will proliferate, will divide from 8 to 96 buds, and every bud will grow into a perfectly formed embryo, and every embryo into a full-size adult, making 96 human beings grow where only one grew before. Progress. So I want to take a look at that word normality. Now, of course, today's connotation of normality kind of relates to COVID-19, things before masks, before social distancing. But here, let's take a look at this normality. Now, in my opinion, this is anything but normal. In Brave New World, their idea of normal is taking an egg, an embryo, separating it into 96 different eventually full-sized adults. That seems a little strange. Now, normality, the connotation is being normal, being used to typical, expected, but this is not typical. This is anything but typical. This is not how you classify a birth. Now, the leader, Mustafa Mond, has convinced and changed the ways of birth, has changed people's ideas of what birth actually should be. He is the one that has set up this laboratory and split up these eggs. He's not allowing these natural births. People who have natural births, now as referenced in Brave New World, they call these people savages. The people who used to be how we do birth nowadays within our world, those people are called savage. These ideas have been changed by powerful leaders. So regular civilians, they don't question these ideas. They just go with it. Now, this kind of gives somewhat a contradictory mood because the normalcy that we know as a normal regular birth, in their society, that's looked at as savage, looked at as wrong. And it's just quite the opposite. It's a little strange and gives that contradictory mood that is a little unsettling for us readers. So I'm going to move on now to a couple of articles that I researched on my own time. And although these ideas might seem outlandish to be applied to our society that we live in right now, it's happening before our own eyes. So, for example, if you are moving to the southern of the United States, and you possibly have lived in the northern states, and you say, oh, we're enrolled in a history class, your textbook that you were handed out might seem a little different compared to what you're used to when you lived in the northern states. So, Mint Julep, a textbook publisher, references the assassination of Abraham Lincoln much differently than northern publishers, which is a little strange. And let me explain this to you. Jennifer Marquez, the writer of this article in which I read, said that Mint Julep textbooks either ignored the assassination altogether of Abraham Lincoln or distanced the Southerners from John Wilkes Booth's actions by de-emphasizing his accomplices. Meanwhile, Northern authors linked Booth to the broader conspiracy plot, thus implicating maybe Southerners in Lincoln's murder. So this is a great way to compare the idea of us changing the past, or simply ignoring it. Now, I chose the word ignore here to just put extra emphasis on that word, because to ignore is to refuse or take notice, to not acknowledge. And here we can see that Mint Julep textbooks are somewhat purposely ignoring what really happened in the past and what occurred in Lincoln's assassination. They are branching away from the ideas of his accomplices and people who helped him out. They are sometimes simply just ignoring him, saying that Lincoln passed away, Lincoln died, not saying he was assassinated. And that idea is a little strange because we all know Abraham Lincoln is the one who freed the slaves, and some people in the South weren't so partial to that idea and are still sensitive about that within today, which is a possible reason why Mint Julep is changing their textbooks and not referencing Lincoln as much when it comes to the assassination. So by using the word ignoring, it kind of shows somewhat of a falsifying or us changing the past. And the mood is a little sinister, a little strange that we're just changing these ideas, falsifying these ideas, spreading and teaching students these wrong ideas. And by ignoring what truly happened in historical events, we become blind. As if these people in both of these novels are blind to the things that are happening right in front of their eyes. These people who are living in these southern states are being taught from, well, of course I wasn't there, but from what I've learned, false information. They're being taught the false information of our own historical events. And so I want to cover one more before I go here. One other issue that America teaches certain individuals who seem to be somewhat heroic or somewhat great people. They're teaching them not the things that they've done wrong, because some of these people are awful human beings. So this article that I found, written by journalist Kate Couric, showcases how popular historical misconceptions are taught within the classroom. James W. Lowen, another historian, breaks down one particular person that we're all aware of. Now, James claims that we're taught that Christopher Columbus discovered America. In fact, of course, there were 100 million people living in the Americas when he got here. Secondly, there were many who came here before Columbus, like the Vikings, or other people from different places. And also third, this man who discovered America also started transatlantic slave trade, and we forgot about that when celebrating Columbus Day. So, of course, we all know now that Indigenous People Day is kind of taking the place of Columbus Day, and it's great that we're coming to the realization of this, but it has been since the 1400s, and we forgot. Now, a great word to wrap up this whole statement here is the word forgot. And we forget what happened within our history due to false information being taught to us. We're taught to us that Christopher Columbus discovered America, and although he might have discovered it for himself, America was already there. And America was discovered by 100 million people who were living there before him. So we leave out these minor details that are extremely important, and we need to acknowledge these ideas and teach these to students across the country. Now, it is difficult to speak about these hard topics and to grasp these topics, but you aren't going to get anywhere without having these difficult conversations in life. And we people are letting the past be eliminated and completely forgotten or altered as a result of false information. Now, the word forgot strikes the reader because these are the events in history that we know and we will never forget. Now, we always say we will never forget most recent history, things like 9/11. We will never forget those histories. But, people like Christopher Columbus, we'll never forget the time that Christopher Columbus discovered America. But are we going to never forget that he also did slave trade? Are we never forgetting people there before him? Are we never forgetting all these other things? We have forgotten the true actual history that happened behind these things, events like Christopher Columbus, and the kind of person is we forgot how actually terrible some of these things are. And instead we teach the good things about him without having those difficult conversations. So events like Christopher Columbus in the 1400s are being wildly altered due to their time length separation from our society. And this word forget that I highlight and emphasize for you gives that kind of shocking mood. You're like, it kind of puts that idea in history that, oh my gosh, we're forgetting what actually happened, what actual research we've done on Christopher Columbus. We are forgetting what actual terrible things he did. And we are slowly forgetting the things that are happening around us. It's kind of a scary idea, and this is happening all the time. So, although I personally haven't ran into these issues myself, and I cannot recall what I was taught about Christopher Columbus, but I can know for sure that I was taught probably about Abraham Lincoln's assassination. I do know that a kind of easy way to fix this is just we must educate people in a proper way. We gotta all be on the same eye to eye, educate people about what truly happened and not falsify this information. Society needs to be made aware that there are issues that are being changed, and we need to change these because these issues that are being altered and changed are happening right in front of our eyes and we don't even know. So civilizations of both 1984 and Brand New World are equally not aware that history is being rewritten within their lives. But if we can spread awareness and tell these individuals and let them know that change is occurring, well, hopefully we can change society and not alter the past within our future to better us as a society. And hopefully this will result in a unified teaching of our society as a whole. So we can stop altering the past, stop changing what actually happened, learn the truth of what truly happened, either recently or far ago, like Christopher Columbus. I want to thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm Sean Washburn from the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C., and thank you for listening to my ideas, and have a good one.